Hello everyone, I'm Pavitra Ketka Ishwantrao. This is a tutorial on section post-production for urban designers and architects, where I'll be taking you from a JPEG image or a PDF document to a realistic render under 20 minutes.
I have actually imported an image from Google. Usually you would be having your own section that you have taken from your SketchUp file or that you have drawn on your AutoCAD software, and then we convert it into an image or PDF and then bring it into Photoshop. In this case, I've just downloaded this from Google. It is a very good park section. To copy this, I have just opened this image on a new Photoshop document, and I have my own preset that we created last time. So let me open it again to show you. So I'm just going to go to File, New, and we created 11 by 17 board in 300 pixels last time as our preset. So every time we don't have to go create a new file, we can just go and open our preset that we created and then hit create. Once you have this page, create your margins. So turn on your scale or the ruler icon. So for which you need to go into view and then make sure you show the ruler. Just make sure you click on the ruler. Okay. So view, ruler, and then your ruler should be visible. Then you just right click on your ruler and then you make sure to select inches, centimeter, millimeter, whichever you're comfortable working with. Since we started off the preset of the board is in inches. It is 11 by 17 board in inches. So it is easier for me to visualize the scale of my ruler in inches. So to draw a margin first, I'm going to pull from my ruler and I'm going to hold on shift. When I hold on shift, it's automatically snapping at 0.250, 0.375, so that it's easier for me to draw my margin. So I'm going to give my margin really narrow this time. So basically we've drawn our guidelines. Now going to a new layer. We never work on the background layer. So this is your layers tab and your background layer is locked. We do not disturb this layer. We are going to create a new one. So in this fresh layer, I'm just going to use my rectangular marquee tool. In my layer, while it's in selection, I'm going to edit. I'm going to stroke. What it does is it actually creates a borderline. I would like for the color of my margin to be black. I'm selecting black. And then the location of your borderline to create, the stroke to create, it asks me the selection that you've made. Do you want it on the center of the line? Do you want it inside of the line or outside? So I'm going to leave it at center. And in the blending option, I do not change anything. I just say OK. So now you can see that the margin has been created. Once you use the marquee tool, for it to deselect, you can either go and deselect the option here, or you can actually use Command D on your Mac or Control D on your Microsoft keyboards. Now we have our margin. It is set. If you want to zoom out, if you've zoomed in too much, you always go and say Control 0. That can bring back your whole sheet to the screen. So it's everything that you're doing is visible to you. So today I'm going to show you how to do a street section. First, say section. I'm just using the text tool. And if I want to select it and I want to create a copy, I'm selecting it using the select tool, the move tool. And then I'm holding down Alt and then I'm creating a copy. So when I'm creating a copy like this, it shows me the distance in space in your worksheet. And then you can also make sure like how you're composing it. And you know that they are always straight and in alignment with each other. I'm creating another copy for my title slide. So let's say this is my second slide, for example. Since it's my title block, I want the text size to be bigger. Let's say I'm creating in my margin, I'm just creating another line. The previous margin that I created, it was only 5 points. So I'm going to take my brush size to 5 to match the same line thickness of my margin. And I'm going to draw a straight line. Removing the guidelines, you can always go and clear the guidelines. So you can actually see the whole sheet. But I'm going to keep my guidelines for some little while longer. You can always reposition it. So I'm having my sheet number here. Always before you copy, you just have to hold on Alt so that your arrow key changes to the double arrow, if you can notice. And then you pull it across. And to edit it, just double tap on it and you can start editing it. This could be your actual name of your project. So let's import it. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to Open. I've already opened the file that I want to open, so it's right over here. So I just want to copy it. So when you open a new file on Photoshop, it always is on the background layer. So we don't want to disturb the background layer. I just want to copy the plan and the lawn detail. So you can do two things. You can duplicate the layer and then you can just drag it across and take it into your new file. And you can scale it how you want it. Actually make 2 copies. because I want my plan and my section to be under the headings that I've given. That's my placeholder. So I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to go into my selection, double tap or the right click in your mouse, and let's say layer via copy. It creates a new layer immediately. So I'm going to call this section. Going back to the background copy, I'm going to do the same thing again. Selecting my plan, right clicking on it, inside the selection, layer via copy. Okay. So I'm closing my background copy. I'm taking my section and my plan, and I'm going to select them using Shift so that I can move them together. Going to my move tool, and I'm moving them together because I want them to be in alignment and in same scale. I do not take them separately and move them. I always move them together, and in case I want to even scale them, I scale them together so that they both are of the same scale. I'm just going to move it. I'm going to move my plan. Okay. Photoshop, the layers are one on top of the other. So right now my section of the park, the text layer, is underneath my image. That's why you're not able to see it. So I'm going to go find that section of the park and plan of the park. I'm going to bring it above. Okay. And I'm going to do something called a group. So I want my format layer, the formatting, which is my margin, my sheet title, my sheet numbering, and the names of my members in the group, and the small introduction that I tried to give in my title block, all are going to go into a new folder. I'm going to call this new folder my title block. Okay. And in my title block, I'm going to copy all of these layers using Control, and I'm going to throw them into this small folder called my title block. So once I throw them in, I can actually toggle them on and off, if you can see. Looks like I've also selected the plan of the park and section of the park. If this happens to you, you just select them, and then you just bring them outside the group and you put them. They're no more inside the group. And I also want them on top of my images. So I'm going to move that. I'm going to change the size of my text. To do that, I'm just going to select one of them, and I'm just going to say 18. Make sure that the markings or the people in your scene and the text heights that you use are not bigger than the people that you use, because then it looks super bold and very unrealistic. When you're composing, yes, texts are important, but because you are majorly into visualization, your texts are just supporting actors. They are just going to support the drawing. So when somebody looks at it, they know that this is a section. When somebody is looking at it, they already know it's a plan. They just don't know what plan it is of or what section it is of. So just make sure you just say section. And for example, you have a waterfront that you're making a section of. You just say section waterfront. The thing is, you need to start naming places in your master plan. So for example, you can have waterfront promenade, you can have a west trail or east trail. So when you're actually putting down names, you just have to make sure, oh, this is the plan of the park of the west trail. So you will be very specific. And the section of the park above the plan is usually conveying that it is the section of the same. So not necessary to sometimes even mention that that is the section. What you can do rather would be just bring the text down and make the plan and your section align. And you sometimes don't even have to mention this. So this way, the text in your sheet is minimal. You're conveying what you need to convey, and everything is spaced out really well. So now let's start rendering. So for rendering, I've just used this as my base image. I'm only going to teach you how to do the rendering with PNG files on Google. And we also have a lot of Adobe Shutterstock images free. I'm going to zoom into where I'm going to work. So now my title block and everything is done. I want to actually delete this. Understand that the more number of layers you have on your layers panel, the more heavier the file tends to get. Imagine this like keep stacking a pile of paper in a document. So the more number of files, the more number of layers, the more number of papers, the more heavier your document is going to be. So if you have any unnecessary document, just delete them. But if you feel some documents you need to have because you want to refer back or you can't bring them back into your file in the same scale, you can retain them. You can just, for example, this one that I had from which I made a copy of, I can just retain it by just hiding the layer. It's still going to be part of the document. It's still going to be part of my layer system. In case I mess up anything on the copy that I made, I can always go and copy it from here. Until you finish the complete file, just retain them. So I'm just going to create a new folder called section. I'm going to first create something called left panel. So I know that my composition of the left panel, I'm going to find all of these items here. And I'm going to throw all of the other things into my left panel. Inside my left panel, I'm creating another group. In the group, I'm going to call section. And then I'm going to throw that into my left panel. So it's here. Now I'm going to create a new layer. This layer is going to be called my ground level. Let's start drawing. So to draw, I'm going to use my brush tool. And when I click on my brushes, it tells me what kind of brushes that I can choose. it gives you a lot of options. I'm just using my basic brushes. So your basic brushes are the ones that you find at the top. They're called general brushes. And I'm just going to choose my hard round brush. When you choose a soft round brush, there's going to be a lot of pixels on the side. If you notice, there's a lot of blurry pixels. I don't want any blurred pixels. I want them to be exactly like drawing a pen line. So I'm going to use a hard round brush. The size of it, I don't want it to be as thick as my title block. So I'm going to reduce it. I'm going to call it 3 pixels. And let's start drawing. So to draw a straight line, I'm just going to place one point. I'm holding on Shift key and I'm drawing across. Just hold, make a point and just hold on Shift key and just keep drawing a line. Zoom in. Okay, it's just a rough line, so we don't have to worry. We can always edit it. And then I want to do this line. Okay, and then I'm going to give a drop. Hold on Shift to make straight lines. You can also make angular lines using Shift, point 1. And then you can just hold on Shift and say point 2. Same way, I'm going to draw this. Shift, point 3, point 4, point 5. I'm basically tracing it. They have like a pebble walkway, so we can just show a small ridge here as well. I'm going to choose this to be my wall body. Like a shallow pond. So now we have a little bit of a section done. I'm going to finish it off because I want to be able to fill it. So I'm going to create a complete surface. I'm also going to go take my eraser tool. This is my eraser tool. And I'm just going to erase the lines that I don't want. So turn off my section and you can notice that we have traced out a proper section. Like I'm going to be using the wand tool, the magic wand tool, and that would be this. In case you don't find it, you just right click on it. It is the last tool. Make sure that we are in the ground level and then I'm going to select. So when I select it, it actually shows you this selection. So it's selecting the whole thing inside. If your selection is not happening, it means that your connectors are not closed. Your surface has not been created. So I'm going to just take paint and I'm going to give a kind of gradient and I'm going to choose my colors. I'm choosing my first color and then I'm just choosing my second color. There are many ways to create gradient. You can see on the top. I'm just choosing the first one. You can also move the pointer here to adjust your gradient. Once you're done, so once you select, you need to create another layer. Sorry for that. I'm just going to call it my ground. Go back to my gradient. Apply it. Adjust if needed. Click on escape. I'm just going to put my ground plane on top because I don't want the black line to be covered. You can also play with the opacity. So next, I'm going to fill this water. So I'm going to just create another layer, call it water. I'm just going to go give it a blue color. This time, I'm just going to use a paint. And I need to go make and select a selection. And I don't want my line to be seen. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to use the lasso tool. Make sure you have this option selected. So when you're selecting and you want to make multiple selection on top of the selection you've made, and these are all 3 your selection tools and you have this option in all 3 of them, the marquee tool, the magic wand tool, and the lasso tool. So what you need to do is on the top, it says add to selection, right? You need to add to selection. Otherwise your default is set to new selection, which means you can only make one selection. So I'm going to click on add to selection. In case you want to subtract, you'll say subtract. In case you want to intersect, you'll say intersect. Right now I'm using add to selection. I'm just going to go to my water layer and then I'm painting it. Then Control D, I'm bringing my water layer above the ground layer and you can see that the water is above the ground. So it's hiding the line, but the line still exists underneath. Next, let's say I want to give some concrete. So going to my ground level, making my selection. Okay, let's say this is my concrete layer. I'm selecting the small curves. All of these are selected, creating a new layer, calling it concrete. And I'm going to fill it using my paint bucket tool. Since all of them are selected at once, all of the selection that I made into the different layer is all been marked concrete. Let's say I want to give a brick here. So how you can do that is you need to first go find a brick material. So I'm going to Google. Go to Pinterest. It's easier here. Brick seamless. That's what you would say, okay? Brick seamless texture. Whichever resonates with you or whichever is closer to the representation you're trying to do. Save image. and then we open it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open with Photoshop. It opens as a new file, and I'm going to create it as a pattern. I'm going to set it as a pattern. So I'm using the marquee tool, selecting the whole thing. You can see it, selecting the whole thing. And then I'm going to say edit. In edit, I'm going to say define pattern. I'm defining this pattern so I can use it. I'm defining this pattern and I'm going to call it brick and say okay. I'm going to go back to my file that I was working on. I'm going to select my paint bucket tool, and instead of foreground, I'm going to choose pattern. Choose pattern. In pattern, there is already a lot of presets others might have made, or there are some defaults as well, but I wanted a specific brick, so I'm just choosing the brick that I created. So once you create a preset pattern, this is where it's going to appear. You can then put it in any of these folders, or you can create a new folder by yourself. Right now I'm clicking on this and I filled it here. So before I filled it there, the mistake that I again did was I forgot to create a new layer. So I'm going to create a new layer, call it brick, and then fill it. So I'm in pattern, I chose the pattern that I wanted, I'm filling it in. In case the size of the brick is too big because the scale of the drawing, it doesn't match, what you can do is you can go to blending options on that layer, okay? And then what you can do is you can say pattern overlay. In pattern overlay, you can go find that brick, and here there is an option for scale. So you scale the brick and then you say okay. This is how you can introduce patterns or other textures into your file. So now let's start bringing in trees. So how you can do that is, again, go back to Pinterest. We are going to search for PNG trees. So when we're searching for PNG trees, it shows me trees in section, trees in plan. Make sure you choose a plan for the same so that you can put it on your plan as well while rendering. So today I'm just going to pick, and there are many types of trees that you can pick. You can pick illustrative trees. Like these are just illustrative trees, they're not realistic. If you're doing like a forest scene or like a really dense park scene, we could have this as one of our backgrounds. I can show you how to do that. Let's say I like this tree. Open. The reason why you need to make sure that it's a PNG image is because PNG images do not have backgrounds, so you do not have to manually go and delete backgrounds. So when you're saving as image, it shows you what kind of file it is. Okay, I'm just going to save a couple. You can also choose multiple trees like this, so it's easier to navigate. You also have like shrubs that you can choose. And you can also choose people, or if any of this actually matches in your scene that you can use, you can also choose this. And I'm just going to go ahead and open them. It's open. This is not a PNG image, this is a JPEG image. So what you can do is, in case you only find JPEG images, that is a small trick that you can use. I'm just opening the tree file that I downloaded as a new file in Photoshop. And then I'm just going and selecting my wand tool. And then I'm going into select. In select, I'm going to choose color range. And in color range, I can just pick white. But the thing is, there's going to be a lot of off-white colors because this is pixels that's close to your leaves. So I'm going to just click on the plus picking icon. And then I'm just going to go over a little bit. When I'm actually picking, you can see the swatches change. I don't know if you're noticing on the right top of the screen when I'm picking. Once you do that, it picks every small portion of that color trace from the background as well. And then I just click on OK. When I click on OK, it selects all of those. Once it selects that, I'm just going to duplicate the layer because we're working on the background, right? So duplicating the layer, I'm turning off the background. And then I'm just clicking on the delete button on your keyboard. And I'm just clicking on Control D. And once my tree is cleaned, I'm just going to pop it back into my file that I was working on. And then I'm just going to place it. You can place multiple trees like this. I'm just going to hold on Alt and I'm going to create copies. And to show distance in your screen, you can actually like make the opacity a little less, just to tell you that, okay, that tree is behind this tree. You can make them smaller for distance sake. So you can choose tree backgrounds like this. Bring it in. Make sure that it's at the back of the whole section that we're doing. Extending it back. Then I'm moving it along. I'm going to reduce my opacity. I want to scale it a little bit more. And let's say this portion of the trees, I want them to be lifted up. I don't want them there. So I'm going to select it. And then I'm going to go inside the selection. And I'm going to say layer via copy. But I need to do a layer via cut. I need to make sure the layer is rasterized, which means it can be edited. So I'm going to rasterize the layer. And then go inside the selection I made, layer via cut. And then I'm going to move it. Okay, and then I'm moving it. I'm going to make sure that it's underneath. I'm going to make sure my ground plane is not see-through. I'm going to make it opaque. The reason being, I want to hide the roots so I can actually manipulate my trees to be wherever. So this way you can create like a proper section. Now let's bring in a couple of people. You can bring in cars, you can bring in people the same way we brought in the trees. If we want like a vending people, you have people in a market, you have all kind of PNGs available. You can use realistic people or you can use people silhouettes like this one. I usually prefer people silhouettes, the reason being they're easy to manage and you don't have to edit them too much. But you can definitely bring realistic people too. So let's try. Just going to bring this person in. You notice that this person is actually not a PNG image. Just like how we selected for the tree, I'm just going to make a selection. This time, I'm just selecting. And you see like how even the person got selected. So I have to go and deselect the person. I'm using the lasso tool. And then I'm making sure that I subtract from selection. And then I do a little bit of subtraction. I'm going to make sure this is a rasterized layer. So rasterizing the layer means making it editable. Rasterize it. And then I'm going to click on delete. And then I'm going to call her girl. Control D. I have my person selected. Make her human scale. Okay, if a person needs to sit on the bench, then that's how much they can be. So there she is, walking. Like this, you can create your scene. You can create, you can bring in a bicyclist. So whatever you're showing in the plan, make sure that it is represented here. So I see a lot of trees here and shrubs. We don't have shrubs in the section. You can definitely go ahead and bring in shrubs, just like how we brought in the trees. So this is how you create a proper section.
Thank you for watching this video, and if you had learned something from it, I'm very happy to have helped you. Definitely like, comment and share this video to whomever it would be helpful.